Very good evening. Welcome all to a very interesting edition of Sky Blue Fans TV. What a difference a few days makes. There was a game, believe it or not, on Wednesday night against Derby, which we were going to talk about. But other things have happened since. Just after 10:30 this morning, announcement was made by the club that they departed ways with Mark Robins. It shocked a lot of people, certainly shocked me. And it shocked a lot of supporters as well by the outcome of anger and comments we've had throughout the day. So Mark Robins has been relieved of his duties after 7 years at Coventry City. And Claudio, good evening to you, mate.
Good evening, Ken. I heard you on the radio earlier. I thought it was quite good. We set you a task to get the word chitty chitty bang bang in, and you somehow managed to do it on the siege of our interview. I thought it was fantastic.
I did, yes. I squeezed it in, yeah. I said, "Chitty chitty bang bang, don't break down, so don't touch it." So why, why touch a working formula, which seemed to be working quite well? But we'll talk about formulas and Doug King and all his plans as the night goes on. But let's start with Mark Robins. Shocking news for me this morning when I heard it. I had to double check whether it wasn't somebody messing around, whether it was false, but it was true. What was your initial reaction, mate, when you heard it?
I wasn't shocked. But I was surprised. Was I surprised or shocked? I didn't expect it. Put it that way. I know we lost last night, and it wasn't particularly. Well, it was an awful performance, to be honest. And after the two results we had recently, you think was that a stay of execution or something? Because I've said for a while now, we've not heard from Doug King at all this season. He's disappeared, and there's been nothing on media. There's nothing on socials. He was chirping like a little budgie, wasn't he, a few weeks back when when we were doing well and on the back of what Sisu had built? Because I don't care what anybody says, the team that got to the playoff final was a Sisu team built with players that Dave Boddy and Mark Robins got to the club. End of story. What's happened since then? It's an absolute nightmare, I think, because we've sold some fantastic players. Okay, we got decent money for them. Personally, I think one of them went too cheaply because he's probably the best striker in Europe at the minute on current form. Hamer, we've not replaced Hamer. Okay, we've got plenty of money, and the current owner hasn't really spent his money. They've just spent money that they've got from income from fans and the income from the players that we sold. There's nothing extra. There's nothing extra whatsoever. And we've brought in players that I don't think are good enough for the job. And we've brought in a lot of League One standard players. And I can't see how they're going to get us out of this division and to get us where we want to be, which is what Doug King has said. Now, he's obviously looked at it and thought, well, we want to manage in a certain way. We want to structure the club in a certain way. We've got this new coaching regime, which is happening in loads of teams. We're not the only team doing it. It's not a new thing. And maybe he thinks Mark Robins doesn't fit that criteria of being a head coach because he's a manager. And they want to bring somebody in who's just basically going to fit that role. And that's all they're interested in. Almost like a yes man, you could say, because I'm not sure Mark Robins is going to answer to a lot of those people in the background. He's got there's no experience in that backroom staff whatsoever for a Championship club who's got aspirations to get into the Premier League. There is nothing there whatsoever. And I can't understand why you'd want to get rid of the only person who's got a winning mentality. Because I know we've had a bad run and it's not gone great. And it hasn't been the best, but he's still that one link pin that could get us further. And surely even if you'd given up to Christmas or something, but I don't think it's not a disaster just yet, is it? But I can imagine, I'll let the other guys in a second, I can imagine that our home form has been the problem. And I've said it a few weeks back, and now we've lost something like 10 matches in the last 19 at home. The main income are home matches. That's where the fans are coming to the ground. 27,000. It doesn't matter what happens away from home. They're just results. That's not creating income for the club. But when you've got 27,000 at home, that 27,000 is going to become 20,000 quite quickly if we start dropping down the league, down towards the bottom of the table, and that's income lost. and that's all he's worried about, is getting the income in. And the crowds will drop off. We've done it in the past. 10 years ago, 8,500 we used to get. We're now on 27,000. I'm telling you now, it can go back down to 8,000 quite quickly. I mean, obviously we've got season ticket holders, but the ground will be empty if the football's rubbish. And I think it looks like he's laying all the blame on Mark Robins here. That's a bit harsh. In fact, it's very harsh, and I don't understand it really fully, apart from what I'm trying to make out in my head. Apparently, he got this fans forum thing on Monday night. Maybe it'll be explained a bit better there. But I think it's a bit cowardly to not say something straight away, basically.
Yeah. We're still waiting for a statement from Deadly Doug, they'll call him now. He seems to have gone into hiding a little bit. Will come out with some sort of statement soon, because supporters out there are still angry. They want to know, they've got all answers. And
I'll quickly ask you something, Ken, then. I mean, after last night, who did you put that on, that performance?
Well, I was disappointed in the players, because the players before them same players, apart from one, they'd made one change, performed so well at Middlesbrough away from home. A very difficult game. They performed well. I expected them to come out after 2 wins on the trot. I expected them to come out full throttle, yesterday. But after the first 10, 15 minutes, I knew straight away. I thought they're not at it. Derby would win in the 50-50s. They wanted it a little bit more than we did. We were so slow in the build-up, slow with the passing, kept giving the ball away, weren't concentrating. And I thought, oh, here we go again. It's going to be another long night, And that's how it turned out. We just wasn't there for whatever reason. The players did not turn up last night, and whether you put that on Robin's name's the same team. He gives them another chance. He's obviously happy with the performance on the previous game, and they didn't perform for him. Simple as that. Now, I know he can make changes, and some fans were having to go. Maybe he left his changes a little bit too late when he realised it weren't working. And perhaps he did, because we all know what Robins is like. He does tend to make changes around the 60th, 70th minute mark, doesn't he, normally? But, maybe he could have made them a little bit earlier. It might have changed the game. But Derby weren't particularly good. They were average side. They were a poor side, really. But they wanted it more than us on the night. Simple as that. And they battled for every ball. We gave them 2 goals with a pass back and obviously the deflected shot at the end. So we gave them 2 goals, but we didn't nowhere do enough to win that game. Nowhere near enough to win that game.
So you're putting it on the players then, aren't you?
I'll definitely put it on the players. I wouldn't blame Mark Robins, because he named the same team, and there's the same players performed for him a few days before.
All right.
So why can't you play 2 games in a week? They know they're in the Championship. They know they've got to play 2 games in a week most weeks. It's not every week they play 2 games, but most weeks they play 2 games. They should be up for that. But they just didn't, for whatever reason, turn up last night. They were nowhere near. I mean, if they were even 50% of the game, we know what the way they can play, they would have beat Derby. But they were not even at 50% last night. Nowhere near. So, anyway, let's move on. Wayne, good evening, mate.
Sorry, can we bring Grant in? Because he's not been on before. So
come on, bear with us, Wayne. We'll bring Grant in.
I'll wait. Don't worry.
Grant's a newbie. Good evening, Grant.
Good evening.
How are you, mate? All right. What was your thoughts of today?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah, what's your thoughts of today? Because you're obviously a season ticket holder and stuff, and you've seen most games. Were you shocked at the announcement this morning?
Yeah, I mean, I really probably would echo exactly what Claudio just said, really. I'm shocked today, disappointed, but not surprised. The league that we're in at the minute, when you look at the bigger picture, we're 6 points off the playoffs. This league doesn't normally settle down till after the Christmas period. Mark, in my opinion, deserved at least till January to try and turn things around. We all know the performances at the back end of last year and the start of this year haven't been at the level that we previously seen. But it was a new team. There was a lot of new players coming into the squad, so that needed time to bed. I do feel there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that maybe Mark wasn't happy with. You know, for me, we had an infrastructure in place at the football club that worked very well for 7 years. So we had a manager, an assistant manager, a coach, and a goalkeeping coach. Why try to fix something that isn't broken? There's clearly been moves afoot from the ownership to change that infrastructure with some of the things that's gone on. And I don't think that really sat well with Mark. Yeah, I didn't think it sat comfortably with him. And the results this year, but not just the results, the performances this year, tell me the same story. You know, nothing has improved from the back end of last year, even though this change has occurred. And if you look at the statement today, this is clearly the owner's philosophy, because he's going to continue with that after Mark's left the football club. And he's now even saying that the new guy that comes in is not going to be a manager, he's going to be a head coach. So this is his philosophy. It's not necessarily Mark's, although we've never really asked him that question. So, you know, there's lots of things which are going on behind the scenes, which I think has had a negative impact. And any football club, if the ownership starts to meddle or interfere with the football side of things, it never ends well. It really doesn't. And I struggle also with the football club that we're in a situation now where we have an owner who's not really responsible to anybody else. He put a statement out today saying the board of directors have taken this decision. There is no board of directors.
I was about to say, who are the board of directors? Because I only know him.
Yeah, exactly that. There's one person who's making all of the decisions. And if he wanted to make this decision, he should have also owned it today and said it was his decision. He didn't. He said it was the board of directors, which was very, very sort of disappointing for me. And I worry the way this is going, in that, you know, if you've got an owner in place who is clearly very active on the football side of things and meddling and interfering, then, you know, it's not going to go well, not just with what's happened with Mark, it's not going to go well moving forward. And it also means that what he's going to be looking to do is really bring a yes man in to the role. And that was obviously Mark Robins is not a yes man. So, as I said, shocked, disappointed, but not surprised by what's happened today.
Are you sorry to see him go, Grant, after 7 years?
Say again, sorry, Ken.
Are you sorry to see him go? Yeah. Yeah, we have had a bit of sound problem with Grant, but I think he just about heard us. Okay, let's move on to Wayne then. Evening, Wayne.
Evening. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Okay, it was a strange day today. What was your thoughts on when you heard the news this morning?
Surprised, not shocked. I think, as Claudia said, surprised. I think, yes, I think it's right, but also no, I don't think it's right. I've kind of got both sides of the fence. I'm kind of like a fence sitter on this, because a lot of people are angry the way it's been done, and you can understand that. And there's a lot of sentiment with Mark Robins, with what he's done over the last 7 years with us, from to League Two to League One and everything else we've done. So a lot of people are angry and upset today because of what we've been through with him over the last 7 years. So, as I say, a lot of people are heartbroken. But if you'd have had a new manager 30 games ago, or 35, over the last 30 games, I guarantee every fan would have wanted that manager sacked over those results, because the last 30-odd games have been turgid, have been rubbish. And he has taken, out of 90 points available, he's taken 28. It's less than a point a game. You know, we've had 6 wins since April. We've had 2 clean sheets roughly in 18. That is relegation form, and that can't continue. So I am sad to see him go, and I am generally gutted because it's going to be very hard not seeing him across that pitch. But this is a results business, and you can't get away from the fact that results have been garbage. The performances have been garbage. You know, we had a couple of good games. You know, we won 3-0 at Middlesbrough. We got a bit lucky with 10 men. You know, it's not been great, and it hasn't been good for a long time. And like I said, I think a lot of people are, and I'll probably get slated for this, but that's just tough. But you have to take away the last 7 odd seasons, because that's all in the past. The past doesn't get you to the Premier League where you all want to be. It is on current form, and on current form, we are rubbish. We are rubbish to watch, and teams come to our ground and they are not scared of us anymore. They know how to play against us, and we have been found out.
Do you think the timing, though, was very strange?
Yes. Yeah, because, and this is where I think it's a little bit wrong as well, because we've got 3 really difficult games coming up. And, you know, going into Sunderland, as our fan said earlier, Sunderland have never beaten a Mark Robins team. So whether this has been on the cards for a while, I'm not too sure. But I would rather be going into those 3 games with Robins at the helm than some guy who I've never heard of. You know, and that's where I, you know, I think, yeah, the way it's been done, I think is poorly done. And I think that behind the scenes is not right. There is something definitely not right with how this has been done. But like I say, I'm genuinely sad to see him go, for those who don't believe me, but you can't get away from the fact that the results are rubbish.
So would you stop the buck at Mark Robins and not the players? Certainly for last night's performance. No,
I blame everyone for that, because, you know, everyone's involved. You know, the players are not. The biggest downfall with us is we are never consistent. Promoted teams are consistent, and we are not. We have a couple of good games. You think we've turned a corner, and we go back to what we witnessed last night. We had a great game against Birmingham, then we go back to crap performances. And that's the way it is. Putting a run of a couple of games together, then going back to 3 or 4 without winning isn't good enough. So, I think it is on him, but it's on the players, but it's on, you know, the 1,000 coaching staff that we've got, and a board of director, which is just one person. So it's down to everything. It's a whole raft of things, but you can't get away from the fact that when it was Robins and AD, you'll have to excuse me, I can't remember the other gentleman's name.
Dennis Lawrence.
Yeah, you know, we were a force. Since that's been broken up, it's not been the same. So it's not all down to Robins. It's a collection of everyone at fault, but it's a results business. And when the results are bad, the only person that goes is the manager, because the players don't get sacked.
Because Doug King's come in with this new structure, or so he calls it. But on my view, and I said this on BBC CWR as well, the old structure was working fine.
It was, yeah.
So why change to a new structure? I mean,
because usually, as they say, you know, new brooms sweep clean, and he's come in and, you know, he's looked at things and he's like, well, I'm going to do it my way. It's my money, my investment. I'll do it how I see fit. Whether he's got someone whispering in his ear.
It's not working, this new structure, is it? Because he's brought this new performance director, whoever she is, and all these other people in, and it's clearly not working.
No, it isn't working at all. Will he admit to that? No, of course he won't. I think this, you know, it'd be interesting to see what the forum that's going to be going ahead next week, and when he's privy to that, whether fans are going to be allowed to ask questions off the spur of the moment, or are they going to select a number of fans? Yeah, and you've got to send in your questions so he can preempt his answers, which I would imagine that will be.
Yeah, you can guarantee there'll be no off the hook, questions. No chance.
No, but listen, overall, I get why fans are upset, and I am, you know, I am upset to see him go, because it's never nice. But you also have to take the sentiment away from it and realised that the results since the FA Cup semi-final have been rubbish, and the standard of football has been poor.
I'll get to the comments in a second, and I've noticed a couple there talking about respect, and I think this is what the problem is with this. The guy's been there 7 years. He's put everything into it. 7 years ago, we were dead and buried as a club almost. We were in League Two. We managed, him and Dave Boddy and a few others managed to rally the fans together. And there wasn't many of us to go to away games, to back the team. The idea was forget about the owners, back the players and the manager. And we did that. And it kind of grew, but the momentum grew, didn't it? In getting promoted, the whole thing with Wembley. And this guy's done a lot behind the scenes to gel everything, basically. And he's part of it. Now, this new guy comes in, and it's almost like it's about me. That's what it feels to a lot of people. That's when I'm looking at some of these comments that I read out. And I think, from what I gather, it was done in a hotel room, 15-minute conversation. I mean, it's ridiculous if that's the case. That is no respect at all whatsoever. And I can see why the fans would get upset at that. People know who Mark Robins is. They know who the chairman is, the owner. They'll recognise him if he turns up at a hotel somewhere. They know it's a bit odd. They knew. So, I mean, I was getting messages first thing this morning saying there's something happening, and you're thinking, hey up, and I was just waiting for it. Maybe that's why I wasn't shocked, if that makes any sense, because I felt like I know what's coming here. And especially on the back of that performance as well. But I just think it's just a horrible way to get rid of somebody who's been around so long, who's done so much for the club in this last 7 years, compared to the guy who's just turned up for 5 minutes, who could easily walk out next week. This is what people got to understand. If that guy down the road who owns Fraser's comes up and says, here's 40 million, I'm buying you out, he'll take it, he'll go. Without a shadow of a doubt.
And he wouldn't think anything about any fans or anything like that. He wouldn't give a hoot, would he?
No, exactly. So I think that's why some fans are thinking, hey, this is a terrible, terrible way. It's like somebody's worked at your company for years and they just go, yes, that's it, you're out. I think if there'd have been a mutual consent maybe announced, it might have felt a bit better. You think, oh, fair enough. Maybe Mark just thinks, I've had enough of this. But from what I gather, there's offers coming in already for him. So he's not going to be out of job for long.
No, Mark Robins won't be short of offers for work, guaranteed.
It was funny earlier on TalkSport, you had West Ham fans phoning in, Lopetegui out, and we want Mark Robins.
Well, if they want an old school manager, you go for Mark Robins, don't you? I think that's the key here. But it's how clubs are going. Shall I read some comments out, Ken?
Yeah, go on then. We've got loads of, as you can imagine, we've got loads of comments tonight, so bear with us.
Bear with me if I miss some out, but I can see them all. Phil Bevan, Mark Robins is without doubt the best manager since Jimmy Hill. Sad day for all of us. How many managers are we going to have in the next 7 years? Thank you, Mark Robins. I think in the time that Mark Robins left the first time he came back, we had 14 managers or something ridiculous. Greg North, a huge own goal by the owner, and not for the first time. King removed Robins' coaching team. Absolute sin. AD was loved and respected by the players and was a buffer between Mark and the players. Is George North. I see Lampard is the bookie's favourites. If King thinks he's the answer at 76, I despair. Better that King goes himself. I actually said this jokingly to my lad earlier. I says, I think I've got more experience and a few of the people I know in picking the next manager than the actual people behind the scenes, because they've watched far less football than I have in 50 odd years, that's for sure.
Exactly, yeah.
Greg North, we're only 7 points off the playoffs in a very tight league. We don't have the budget to worry the top two places. We generally go to the yo-yo clubs living off parachute payments, blood boiling. And he said, I hope AD and Mark unite and lead another lost course of success. Top men for our club. Gar 87 is shell-shocked. Most love of music. You better be live for 3 hours because I need the shoulders to cry on. I'm traumatized. It feels like I've been sacked. One of the girls on Seedwood, I was in tears, one of the presenters. Mostly love of music, an obvious terrible decision. Doug will regret this sooner, more severely than he realises. It's the end of Doug in the eyes of the fans. And we've got, I don't know how you say that, but it's somebody blah. Bring back the parlour. Doug needs a firm slapping. Slapping off joy, to be honest. She wears the sky blue dress and shoes she was wearing that time. Very Hero Savage. Evening, guys. MR deserved at least up until Christmas to keep his job. I hope all the people who wanted MR out are happy now. The atmosphere at Sunderland, says Mr. Blah. The atmosphere at Sunderland at the CBS is going to be toxic beyond belief. I think Doug King's lucky that he won't be able to hear us up there.
That's if he goes to the game.
Oh, yeah. Thomas O'Day, hopefully you'll all speak the truth. Do not spread club propaganda so you can stay nice with the club. We'll see you for what you really are. And if any of you tries to defend this decision, well, I don't think we have, but we will play devil's advocate at the same time as well, because the club aren't here for a right to reply. That's the, that's the only fair way.
Until we hear a statement off Doug, we don't know what will be, do we?
Most of the music. This is why fans need their own football club to moderate against unmitigated nonsense like this, which is true. Which is why the Germans, 50+1, the Germans do, don't they? They're where the fans own the clubs or something. They've got a say in it. Thomas O'Day, if anyone defends this on the show, get them off. MR was the best thing that happened to us. He more than earned one rough spell. If any of you defend this decision, you aren't real fans. Oh no, it's not about being real fans, is it? It's just what's fair and right.
How dare you have an opinion that don't align with them, eh?
Yeah. Paul Cuttaford, I said 3 or 4 weeks ago, DK out. If you restructure the manager to coach, you squeeze the manager out and become a dinosaur. But this is the most deplorable thing that DK has done. Nation Radio, even though I'm gone smart, this is a ridiculous decision. Deadly Doug, think his days are numbered as well. Paul Cuttaford, can't wait for allegation to come because we will still be here, but DK will have lost millions and will be gone. If it isn't broke, why fix it? Deplorable Fraser Group need to buy this out.
Well, that's it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Simple as that.
Well, there's a club not too far away from us who meddled with the managerial process not too long ago when Mr. Eustace was at Birmingham City. He was doing a great job. They were in the playoffs. They changed the manager, and before you know it, they're relegated. So this is what happens when ownership meddles with the football side of things, and it is concerning for me personally that we could go down this path. We need to get a structure back in place where the football guys run the football club, and the ownership takes a step back and lets the guys get on with it. This has happened now, so we have to move forward. The Birmingham guys, the ownership there have obviously stood up to the plate and have backed the football club with huge sums of money, but they are very, very, very wealthy people. Doug is in the same league as them in terms of wealth, so it would have been easier for them to back their decision with money. It's going to be a lot more difficult for Doug, so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
I mean, I did ask you. I asked you, but we lost you earlier. A little bit of internet. I was about to ask you. Do you think Doug heads on the chopping block now if this next appointment is wrong? Obviously,
is that to Grant? Is it
to Grant? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's a critical. It's a critical decision. This next appointment. I think I was speaking to someone about this earlier today about what level of manager he's going to go for. Now, obviously, there's a lot of rumours going about today after the announcement. My personal view is he's got to go for a household name because it will be one way to validate his decision and to get the fans slightly back on side in the short term. Yeah. If he goes for somebody like the guy at Wickham, and there's a lot of rumours going about the guy at Wickham that they've already approached him. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. That's not going to wash with the fans because a lot of people will say, well, how is he better qualified than Mark to steady the ship and get us back on track? So I think he might well go for a household name, although a colleague of mine at work today said, well, he won't spend the money on a household manager because they'll want big money. So it's interesting both sides of the coin really, and to see who actually does come in.
Yeah,
well, he's paid out 80, hasn't he? And this will be another contract he's going to have to pay out. So he's paying out money to to sack people, basically. Well, that's money gone already, isn't it? That's money that's been generated by whoever, which could have gone elsewhere, couldn't it, really? Maybe on that player we needed to play midfield in the transfer market.
I believe Robins had a good couple of years left on his contract, didn't he? Because he signed a 5-year deal, didn't he, initially? Only a couple of years ago.
That wouldn't have been a cheap payout.
No.
Wouldn't have been a cheap payout.
And like I said, if Mark had turned around and just thought, I've had enough of this, I'd have said, fair enough, you're giving your all for 7 years. I don't blame you, because it's becoming a nightmare now, isn't it? You can see it. But the fact is sacked. I just think it's just poor, really, really poor.
It is poor handling, very, very poor, the way it's been handled, the whole thing. It's just...
I mean, the thing is as well, we've said on air for pretty much from game 2 or 3 of the season, even when he's conducted himself in his interviews, he's been completely different to how he's been over the previous seasons. This year, he's been a lot more angry in his interviews when it's not gone right. He's called the players out for poor performances, whereas before you never got that. So I genuinely do think there is stuff behind the scenes that he's not agreeing with, or his hands are tied in that respect. And he probably is. He's probably up above who are making a lot of the decisions for him, because his demeanour this season is not the Mark Robins that we're used to for the last 6 or 7 seasons.
Well, I said a few weeks back, didn't I, that once the fans stop singing your name, that's when you need to start to worry. Last night was the first time we never sang "There's Only One Mark Robins," and I thought, I can't believe he's been sacked in the morning. And I thought the irony of that. I thought, oh, there you go. Stop singing his name.
It's the shame the ownership isn't listening to that, because we've not sung the dog song for quite a while. So hopefully he's realising as well that the fans are, understanding what's going on.
I mean, it's a brave decision by the owner, to be honest, because he must know there's going to be a backlash. I can't believe he thought people aren't going to say, hey, up, because he must know that the fans like Mark Robins. And so it's just tragic that you couldn't. I mean, I've seen a great comment here by mostly Love of Music, and letting Mark go should never occur without a massive send-off, fireworks, 21 gun salute. I'm simply not having the brutal self-destruction that we've seen today. Shown some bloody respect, Doug.
Yeah, well said. Yeah,
it just feels like, it's not like we've lost 14 games in a row.
It's not long ago. It's not long ago we were on about getting a statue.
Yeah,
Mark Robins, weren't it?
It's just
where we're going to put it.
It's not been completely dire, that it deserves the way it's been done. It's just weird behaviour. I think
that's the thing, though. It's as I said earlier. It's the sentiment that everyone is attached to at the minute, because of what we've gone through, of the days of marching through the streets with Sisu, and having everything that we've gone through with Mark. And okay, he's gone. But it's that feeling that you can't say goodbye in that respect. And it's kind of like you've lost a family member today. Put aside the results, as I said earlier, it's kind of like that's it. It's the end of an era, and there's nothing more we can do. It's like we're all helpless to do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, but Doug's obviously no sentiment with the fans or Mark Robins, really, but Robins has got plenty of sentiment with our fans, because he's been there, and he's been there. But
he's been there all around. I mean, constantly you see pictures of him, whether it's at social nights out with the fans. You see all that all the time. He's kind of like a pillar of the community over the last 7 years that people have got used to. And when you read earlier that fans go in, their kids are crying and stuff like that, that's where you get it from. And that's why it's hard to take. And I think the result side of things, people are probably putting those at the back of their mind at the minute, because it's Mark Robins. But you can't ignore the fact of the football.
Yeah, but it's also down to the way it's been done, which is what we're talking about. I mean, Doug has treated this like a business transaction. That's what it feels like to me. It's like one of his businesses, and there's an employee that's not stepping up to the mark, and so a decision is made to get rid.
Yeah.
You know, the big issue here is a third party involved in this process, and that's the fans. And you know, it's not a business transaction. It's an empathetic process running a football club, because there's always that fan element, and I really feel he's lost that. And the way this has been done today, very unexpected, but also just a very simple statement on the website. You know, it just doesn't feel right, and I think a lot of the fans are also really annoyed about that. And that's also affecting that. Yes, the results haven't been great, and a lot of people have got that at the forefront of their mind as well in terms of how it's been done.
It reminds me of my first marriage. It started well, petered out, and she got the house. Shocking.
Well, look, we'll come back. We'll come back to it. There's plenty more to talk about. Got loads of more messages to go through. But we have got a game, believe it or not, on Saturday against Sunderland. We've got our Sunderland fan Paul waiting in the wings, listening to all this very candidly. Come in, Paul.
I'll bring him in. Now, I've got to say, total respect to Paul. He's a friend of mine, so let's be nice.
Good evening, mate.
Look at this smug, gentlemen. Good evening, lads.
Look at his smug little face. Look at it, top of the league.
No, listen, far from it. I'm not smug. You know what it is? It's really fascinating listening to you talk about this, because, I mean, various things. We have the same structure that you have at Coventry now with the director of football, and over the last couple of years, it's caused all sorts of carry on, because we prioritised getting only bringing in players that would turn a profit, and we've had all the fallings out between the managers and the DOF, who's a guy called Christian Speakman, who came from Birmingham City. I mean, Alex Neil apparently walked out and took the Stoke job through arguments with Speakman over player recruitment, and Tony Mowbray, rumours were he got sacked because he was questioning again the recruitment, and just listen, I mean, you talk about yes men. That's a phrase often bandied about up there, that we just wanted yes men managers, and words like respect as well, which we went through the same with Mowbray when Mowbray was sacked last season. A lot of fans felt that he was massively disrespected. Couple of bad results, and he was gone very quickly. I think we were 7th or 8th at the time he went, and it was all about for Coventry now getting the right manager in, which I mean you've already covered. Sunderland last year made a very bad choice in appointing Michael Beale when Mowbray went, and to be honest, if the season had gone on another 5 games, I think we could have gone down. We just plummeted down the table, very very similar to what happened with Birmingham when they got rid of Eustace and brought Rooney in. So it really is all about the right appointment. Yeah. On the subject of which, Michael Beale's still out of work. Like, if
no, thank you.
I would wish him on years, of course.
We'll pass on that, thanks.
And then, I mean, it's been spoken about on our main forum today at length as well, you know. And as I said earlier, the vast majority of Sunderland fans are quite shocked. I mean, it's no secret that Sunderland have inquired about taking Mark Robins a couple of times over the last 3 or 4 seasons, and being rebuffed every time, you know. And it's somebody the fans, I think, have a lot of respect for, despite the fact that, as I said, we never seem to get the better of him. So yeah, surprised and shocked. I mean, one name a couple of fans actually mentioned on the forum, which is a name that's been kind of mentioned up there coming in as a player, is Jordan Henderson, who's made noises about wanting to be a player coach. Just an interesting one to kind of try out.
He plays for the club,
experience, but
you know.
I think, Paul, it has to be something like that, because to appease the fans. Because if you just bring in somebody who's like got no experience of top quality football or top quality management, I think we're going to be, oh great, what. You know, we feel like we've spent too many years now waiting for something to happen. You know, because ultimately we want to get back in, like yourselves, we want to get back in the Premier League.
Yeah.
You know, we waited far too long as a fan base, and I think if we have somebody with no experience, it's going to be incredibly hard. But in saying that, you're top of the league with a guy with no experience at this level, but seems to be doing a great job for the first 14 matches. So
what's the guy who got relegated in France last season?
So what's the secret?
He's immensely well organised. The key difference this season is that every one of our players seems like they know what role they have on the pitch. And we've kind of got a few players who can interchange. He's very fond of talking about triangular movement, and that he likes his little triangles on the pitch. We have what we call the midfield trio of Dan Neil, Job, who unfortunately is suspended on Saturday, and the young lad Chris Rigg, who is unbelievable. And they've kind of driven us this season, and interchangeable wingers as well. So it's just organisation. He's come in, his press conferences are fantastic, just takes no crap. Really not a yes man. Knows what he wants. His background is coaching in academies. He's set up various academies in France. And that's where I think Christian Speakman's kind of looking at, because we still have the youngest team in the Championship. We have all these young lads. We have quite a few academy players coming through as well. There was a young lad called Tommy Watson made his debut last night. Another young 18-year-old off the production line. Young lads like Sirkin and Hume, and
that's been my argument in recent weeks, saying we're not bringing anybody through our academy. Yeah. We had two youngsters on the bench; they don't get on the pitch, and this has happened too often. They end up going out on loan. We've got two, I think, young lads. Well, they're not young anymore. One's 23, is still out on loan, who I think deserves to have a chance in the first team. There's a couple of them, and they get overlooked. But what is it? You got an average age of 19 in your midfield currently.
It's the eldest player's Dan Neil at 22. He's got now over 100 appearances, and then after that you've got Joe Bellingham, who I believe is 18, and Chris Rigg, I think Bellingham's about 18 now. Chris Rigg might have just turned 18. Oh, in fact, no, he's just turned 17. Sorry, it was his 17th birthday a few weeks back. So yeah, average age, 19 and a half maybe. And the three of them have been excellent. Dan Neil has been off and on, but Joe Bellingham is arguably our player of the season after getting a lot of criticism last year as well. A lot of people saying he was just being played because of the name, and rumours that we only got him from Birmingham because his contract said he had to play a set number of games, etc. You know how rumours are.
Yeah.
But, he's come on leaps and bounds through. Whether that's the influence of Labrie, and I think he's got a degree in psychology or something like that. So, he's a little bit more than your arm around the shoulder type of guy.
So you got is it Mundell from Spurs?
Romain Mundell, yes, Jack Clark's replacement.
Yeah, I was going to say, so Jack Clark has gone, which I think a lot of people thought once he's gone, you may struggle. But from what I gather, he's come in and doing a really good job.
He's really good. I mean, by coincidence, Romain Mundell replaced Jack Clark at Spurs. So Jack Clark left Spurs. They got Romain Mundell in, and his paths followed on. He turned down his contract at Spurs because he wanted to play first team football, and he went to Standard Liège, and that's where we got him from last January. And he only played a handful of games off the bench and didn't really show much. But he's another one that's come back this season and set the place alight, to be honest. I mean, he's really stepped up. Another lad up front, Eliza Mayenda, who I think I mentioned when I was on here last year, compared him to Cyril Regis. I mean, he's stepped up as well. He has been injured a little bit, but he's now back on the bench. So I think he'll be on the bench on Saturday. He's a proper unit of a kid. And he's come back really strong as well.
Before we carry on with the Saturday's game, now obviously I think we're the same age, aren't we?
We're not far off.
Yeah. So you've obviously got a long history of watching Sunderland, and also you've watched Sunderland Cov matches over the years. So is there any standout games that you can remember? But I mean, obviously, we won't mention 77.
No, let's not.
But because we weren't playing each other. But is any couple of matches or any games that stand out ones for you over the years?
I mean, the batshit crazy 4-5, which is unforgettable when we played musical statues at the back four.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I was actually at Sunderland's last win at Coventry in 1985. The last time we beat us away from home at Highfield Road. So that's crazy to think back. I think I'll have been 19-year-old at the time.
What do you remember
I'm close to retirement now. That's how long ago it was.
I know. What do you remember the goalless draw, the League Cup match with Mr. Bennett and David Speedy? Were you close to the incident? Were you?
No, I was behind the goal. I was in the full end. I did have a good view of it. It's actually been Gary Bennett's been kind of in the news recently. He was doing a thing about racism, which he's a big part of now. The kick racism out of football thing. It was mentioned about Speedy, and our forum was talking about the night. And it was kind of a unanimous thing that the one regret for Sunderland on the night is the fact that we chucked them out of the paddocks too quick back onto the pitch. That was kind of thing. When Bennett threw them in amongst us, we threw them back too quick.
I know. I got pouted on the way out by a few Sunderland fans because it was all open then.
It was, yeah.
I remember that night. I was there. Yeah, I was that night.
I mean, that's the only thing I remember about the game. I can't remember it being too dramatic. I mean, obviously, we'll not mention the return.
Yeah, we won 5-0. I remember that.
Yeah. Wasn't it, Steve Livingston? Yeah.
He got 4. Didn't he get 4 goals that night? I think he got some.
Certainly got a hat trick. He might have got 4. Yeah.
So are you quite hopeful, Paul? Then you're going to be up there come the end of the season. Or you're going to dwell off like you did last year?
I think typically Sunderland fans are kind of glass half empty supporters, and I think that's just the way we are. And it's kind of unusual to start a season well. Other times where we've had kind of promotion campaigns and whatnot, we've started relatively slowly and then picked it up by about Christmas time and kind of sneaked into promotion spots in the last 2 or playoffs later on. And so it's really unusual for us to hit the ground running in such a way. So the fans are personally, I think if we can keep the nucleus of our starting 11 together, I think our starting 11 is one of the best in the league, certainly. It's if injuries hit and how we kind of respond come the January transfer window if we need to. I mean, we have this season compared to last season, we actually have a couple of strikers in the team now who are kind of hitting the net. We've got a guy called Wilson Isidore up front who's very mobile and very, very, very good in the air. So we do look like we have goals in us this year, and we're keeping it very tight at the back. I think we've got the best defensive record in the league with Chris Mepham at the back, who has been an absolute rock. So we've got him in on loan from Bournemouth, and he's just a colossus at the back. How they allowed us to take him on loans, staggering a player like that. But
you got the guy from Preston as well,
Alan Brown. Yeah. I mean, he's been injured a little bit, and in truth, he couldn't get in with the form of Dan Neil, Job, and Chris Rigg. But with this 3-game ban for Job now, he's in. He played last night against his old team. Didn't particularly do great, just kind of steady away. So hopefully he can pick it up against you. Because I think it's likely to be. I think it'll be a couple of changes on Sunday. We rested Patrick Roberts and we rested Mundell last night. And as I say, we brought in the young lad Tommy Watson, who little bit overawed, and he just kept getting fouled all the time, which not great on his debut. And we played Isidore on the wing because he's kind of a winger come striker, very fast. And we had Aaron Connolly up front, a lad who we've got in on loan for the rest of the season. Player who kind of lost his way, former Brighton striker, Hull striker last year. He did okay, but nothing much. But I think on Saturday we'll revert back to Isidore up top, and I think Robertson and Mundell will come back in on the wings.
What about our former keeper Simon Moore? Because he's played.
Simon Moore's been excellent.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah, no. Well, he played in pre-season a couple of games, and I didn't really look much. And Patterson got injured against Luton, Now, the talking Patterson might be fit Saturday, which leaves Labrie with a bit of a dilemma because Moore in the 3 games he's played so far has been nothing short of excellent. He's kept 3 clean sheets, and I mean, he pulled off a world-class save last night. Did he deny Preston the goal? So leaves Labrie with a dilemma, I guess. Personally, I think if Patterson's fit, he'll bring Patterson back in.
So he's kept 3 clean sheets in a week. We have not kept 3 clean sheets in 6 months at our club.
Yeah.
But he came in, when he came to us, he was great to start with.
I'm about to say, these first few games for us, he's excellent. He's outstanding.
All the keepers I've been, we don't know what the coaching staff are doing, the goalkeepers.
Yeah. I mean, if I remember rightly, he played in goal for us on the opening day of the season a couple of years back.
When Matty Godden scored, in the draw.
And he played well that game. So, I mean, he's a decent keeper. I mean, we got him on a free. It's a decent acquisition on a free. Yeah. So my feeling is, I think if Patterson's fit, he plays. Like,
yeah.
So before we let you go, then, what do you reckon Saturday? Then
we must be due a win against you, surely. So, I mean, I don't know. It's one of these where we've played 6 games at Sunderland this season. We've won 5 of them fairly comfortably. We drew against Leeds with Meslier's injury time comedy howler. A game Leeds played very well in, but again, both Leeds goals shouldn't have stood. So argumentative. So I mean, we are really due a win against you. But after the day with Robins going, it wouldn't surprise us if we didn't win. Wouldn't surprise us to see a draw again. Whether the players kind of up their game in respect of Robins, I don't know. I mean, I don't know who would be picking your team, who would be taking the team. I mean, I know. Sorry, when?
Doug King.
Yeah, Doug King.
Yeah, maybe.
He'll be sitting in the dugout.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to have anybody in place for Saturday, so I don't know. It's up to the attitude of your players, I guess. As you say, you had two good wins before.
Yeah.
Last night, I mean, I watched the game against Luton in the bar before we played Oxford, and even at 2-0 down half time, Coventry with a better team. You played pretty well that day, and then obviously to go and win at Middlesbrough, hard place to go. I know they had Hackney sent off fairly early on, but I mean, 3 good goals you scored that day as well.
So as a fan base, are you the reservations about the young owner? Is that all gone now? Is it everyone happy because you're top of the league?
I mean, he kind of it fell apart a bit last season with a few things. Mowbray going and then Bale coming in, and then there was the Newcastle debacle in the FA Cup. There was various things went on with that game. It was felt we were far too welcoming to their fans and whatnot, and that was all laid on Kirill Louis-Dreyfus's head. But yeah, I mean, kind of in the summer, the attitude changed a bit. Instead of signing just young players to make a profit, young 18, 19-year-olds, we signed Alan Brown, who I think is 27 or 28. We signed Isidore, who's 24. Chris Metham's come in, who I think is 28. So there's kind of been a change. Clark one wasn't a surprise. I mean, it would have been nice to get a bit more from him. I think we got 15 million and then add-ons. The problem with that was no other teams came in for him where we would get a bit of a bidding war going. There's lots of speculation linking him with the likes of Brentford and West Ham, and then for whatever reason, they never stepped up to the plate. So, yeah, it's hard not to be positive when you're top of the league. The fan base, we're kind of up for it at the moment. We're not naive enough to think that it can't change very quickly. I mean, obviously, we've had 2 0-0 draws the last 2 games against 2 teams in the bottom 5 in the league. Now, we haven't played particularly well in either game, although we have got points. Now, as the more sensible Sunderland fans are pointing out on the pages today, over the last 5 games, we've played 4 games away from home and only 1 at home. And we've took 11 points out of them games. And in that same time period, there's only Millwall took more points. I think Millwall's now got 4-1-0 wins in a row or something. I might be wrong on that, but
Yeah, they've
4 in a row. They beat Leeds last night as well. So, I mean, for all we haven't played too brilliant in the last 2 games, we have got the points. So it's we're still 90% positive.
Yeah, I'll be amazed if we come away with anything on Saturday. It'd be interesting if we did, what with no Mark Robins, because no doubt the fan base will probably say, "Oh, the shackles have come off; they've changed their attitude." And blah blah. But I think that might just be the reaction of a manager leaving. It happens all the time, doesn't it? I'm predicting. I'm going to go for a draw. I think somehow we concede, so I'm going for 1-1.
Okay.
Yeah, we do tend to play a different style at home than we do away. We're kind of a bit more high pressing at home, try and catch teams on the hop. So, I mean, whether that works the way Coventry play, I don't know. As I say, I haven't seen enough of Coventry to really make judgment. The only game I've seen he's played pretty decent. So, yeah, it's hard for me to say.
That's the only game we've seen as well.
Sorry?
I said it's the only game we've seen play decent.
What's your prediction, Ken? What do you reckon on Saturday?
Saturday, I'm not very hopeful, mate. To be honest, I think what's happened, it will shock the players. It will shock a lot of the fans. It's difficult. It's always a difficult place to go to, Sunderland, isn't it? The atmosphere there, you get caught up with it all. I just think the players will be shell shocked to what's happened. I know partly, I suppose, you can turn around and say they're to blame because they've not been performing. So, but a lot of them will be behind Robins, I believe, and I don't think we'll get a result there. I think we'll lose. I don't very often predict us we're going to win, but I certainly don't think we're going to win Saturday. I think we're going to lose probably. I'd say body odd goal, maybe 1-0.
Yeah.
Wayne?
2-2 for me.
Ooh.
2-2.
2-2. Weren't expecting that, was ya?
No.
Mystic 2-2.
Shocked.
Grant, what do you reckon?
I was thinking about this earlier, actually. We seem to have a knack of getting results against certain teams. So the teams that we seem to struggle against, we continue to struggle against. And the teams that we tend to do well every year, especially in the Championship, we tend to get results. So it would not surprise me if we got a win on Saturday. We've done this so often where we look at games like last night and think, well, that's a definite 3 points for us. We should be winning that game. And then we don't. And then we go away to like Middlesbrough last week, which is a really tough place to go. Yeah. They're really good, but we got a great record at Middlesbrough. And I was quite confident before the game that we'd win, and we did. And I know they had a player sent off. So it wouldn't surprise me if we had, won by a narrow margin on Saturday.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for the bogey team comment. You're right. It certainly does happen, where certain teams seem to have the Indian sign over others. Yeah, I think the last time we beat you was up here in 2006, 2007. Might have been under Roy Keane.
Yeah,
so it's a decent amount of time ago, So we are due. I personally, I think. I mean, our home form is really good, and we'll look the business at home. And for once, I mean, it's quite the last couple of years we've kind of struggled at home and done a little bit better away from home. But this season, that's been turned on its head. The fans are all up for it. There'll be another. I think we're close to 42,000 sold so far.
It's going to be a cauldron. That first 20 minutes is going to be key. Yeah, you think it's going to be loud?
I mean, it's with the Remembrance Day celebrations as well. We'll have the display on and whatnot. And I'm taking us for a 2-0 win. I think we're fairly solid at home. We're not conceding many goals. I'll touch wood just there. So yeah, we're overdue, and I think this Saturday we'll do it.
I think if we're in your position, I'll be saying 2-0 win. Actually,
yeah.
Right. Well,
Okay.
all the
I
best.
can't believe no one's gone for a 5-4 like the old days.
Well, you never.
I'm not sure my heart can take another one of them, to be honest.
I tell you what a game though, Paul, that was, weren't it?
Oh, it was crazy. Absolutely batshit mental. I mean, walking out of it and just stunned silence. It was crazy. I mean, there was some proper crazy goals as well, deflections and kind of defensive howlers, and it was just crackers. Absolutely.
Was it 3-3 the following season as well? It was a mad game.
Ran a few high scoring games.
I can't remember. I think the following season we got very late equaliser. I think it might have been one each.
I think it was 3. Was it one each? I thought it was 3-3. But thanks for coming on, Paul. And,
no problem. No, it's been really interesting listening to you talk about Robins and kind of the way the club is, the structure of your club, and how the fans feel. And it's been fascinating, to be honest. Really interesting.
Well, we wish you all your best for after Saturday, obviously.
Thanks very much, and I'll reciprocate that. And Coventry, the players are decent players. I think at Coventry. I mean, obviously you've lost some good players in Jokerej, Harmer, and O'Hare in the last couple of seasons. They're very difficult players to replace. But I mean, for me, Coventry's in a false position this season. I can see is getting up, but it's critical. The managerial appointment is critical.
Yeah.
Good luck, guys.
Cheers, Paul.
Well,
okay then, Paul. Thanks very much.
Mate. Thanks for coming on.
No worries. Cheers, gents. Bye now.
There you go.
That's Paul. We've got. It was very complimentary about us, weren't it, Claudia? Yes, Sunderland fans, very nice.
I'm telling you now, majority of Sunderland fans are. It's just a myth. I think a lot of them. It's just
I think it's
social media nonsense, because a lot of the people who cause the grief now weren't even around in '77.
You're right there. You're probably right.
12 when I was at the match. I remember it. And there was nothing for years until social media kicked in. There was an issue with Sunderland fans and Jimmy Hill, but it never seemed. They never seemed to put it onto us as fans. It was more Jimmy Hill. Yeah, he got heaps. I think then they played Fulham away, and they give him a proper going over. And
I've seen that, and he walked over towards them, and he was singling.
And Jimmy Hill loved it. He loved all that sort of stuff. Yeah, because if as far as they were talking about him or singing about him, he knew he was in the spotlight, wasn't he? So he loved it. He loved all that.
Well, let's hope we can get a result, but I'm not so sure. But we'll see. You never know. Anyway, look, we've got loads of comments. Let's go back to
I'll try and get as many as I can in. Apologies if I don't get them all in, because we've got hundreds now. Sparky says, since Doug King has taken over the club, it's gone backwards. It makes no sense why you would completely change the football inside of the club that brought you so much success. Doug King is the problem. And Graham Cockrell, hi everyone. What can I say? Honestly think King wants a yes man. Doug Bolam. I may be unfortunate to share his first name, but under no circumstances do I share his views. To me, there will only ever be one king at Coventry City. His name is Mark Robins. Pauline Hughes, really shocked, but not totally surprised. Just hope it's not the end of the special atmosphere of our club. Thank you, Mark, for all the special days you've given the club. That's the sad thing is, because I think there's a lot of fans who want to give some good messages to him. It's.
Well, just thinking, if the people that are kids that were like 7 years of age at the time when Robins first came, are now like in their teens. They knew Mark Robins as manager, haven't they? The young fans, they've never known another manager really other than Mark Robins, so they'll be shocked, obviously, and they don't know the life before Mark Robins, if you like.
It feels like he's a dirty criminal who's been taken out the back door into the prison cell, doesn't it? I had a chance to say goodbye to him. It's like
that happened to me on Sunday night.
I know, yeah, you were taken down, weren't you? All travel advice. Why should Doug King put his own money in? Intelligent business models have a sustainable business plan that is repeatable. I'm not sure he's got any money, to be honest. Paul Hughes says squad not good enough. Richard Hanna. A home form was the major problem. Rich Overson says the first season of Doug King, we achieved the playoff final. And I think I've read another message from Rich saying It was what he wanted to achieve, and we achieved it. So that was the target when he came in. And the following season, it was to have a good run in the FA Cup, which Mark Robins did. So it seems like he's had the carpet pulled under his feet for this season. James Hollyoake, at the end of the day, the manager is the scapegoat. It's a results business. He picks the team, the players, the system, etc. And Christopher Rafael, it obviously didn't work. 4 in 24 ultimately cost him his job. As fans, we are now seeing the big picture. We lost full of empty seats last night. Many season ticket holders missing. Time up. We move on as a club. Gavin Collins, King has made several decisions that have proved to be wrong and backpedaled on them. This is one decision that there's no coming back from. Absolute clown. That's not me. That's Gavin saying that. Mark Cunningham, what a joke DK is. MR has done everything for our club. Not enough in the transfer window and no loan players or free agents for MR to work with. What the hell DK wants? A deplorable decision. Matt B says, maybe the King doesn't really like Coventry City and is trying to destroy the club from inside out for whatever reason. So I suppose the question now is,
I was going to ask Grant a question. Grant, loan players. Do you think the loan situation where Doug King has obviously said no loans, and Mark Robins maybe tried to bring in the loan, we don't know. Do you think that's affected his relationship with Robins as well?
Difficult to say. I think it was a poor decision. Obviously, Doug has never actually come out publicly and said that we can't have loan players. He's never publicly said that, to my knowledge.
There's a rumor,
but it does seem, it does seem that we were crying out for support in certain areas towards the end of the window, and it was very obvious that they were not going to spend any more money. And there were some very, very obvious loan options on the market. I mean, the one that a lot of people spoke about, Matty James, he's now of course gone on to Wrexham. So, he was one that was touted. So never really got a public sort of statement from Mark Robins on it either. No one really ever asked him outright, has he been told that he can't get any loan players in? Some people sort of tried to put it to him and he sort of circumvented around it. So it's difficult to say. Looking from the outside in, I think that has hindered us as a team. Definitely. I think if we'd have got 2 quality loans in certain positions, that could have helped. Certainly, while Sheaf was out at the start of the season, we obviously missed him. Although I will say that he's certainly been one this year that I've been slightly disappointed with overall. Touted as probably one of the best midfielders in the league after last year, and this year he hasn't reached those standards as yet. But we did obviously miss him. So in that period we struggled. So I think it's definitely hindered us. Did it sour the relationship between Mark and Doug? Difficult to say. It might have just been another aspect of their relationship breaking down.
Yeah, I always found it very, very strange that I think we were the only club, weren't we, Claudia, with no loan players? Is that right?
That's right. No loans. No team has been promoted from the Championship without loan. Everyone's had loan players. The idea is work. Well, the idea is to get into the Premier League, isn't it? How you get there doesn't matter. Then you do a policy, then you buy. You got 200 million to buy players.
Yeah, we've had plenty of players on loan which have come back to us afterwards. I mean, look at Big Vic. Talking about Big Vic, and when he destroyed Man City in the Champions League, I mean, he came to us on loan initially, then went back, and people were moaning, "Oh, what we got him back for? He was rubbish."
I found that hilarious, because he scored that one goal, and they make it sound like, "Oh, this is unbelievable." I'm thinking that's how he scored most of the goals for Cov, by simply running straight at the defence, and then and they were going, "I'm not really sure he meant that finish." I thought, that's what we used to say as well, but somehow it didn't it?
And then he did the classic, plenty of time, 1-on-1, and fluffed it. Did that many times as well, didn't he?
Exactly. And the penalties were great, weren't they? Yeah, love the bloke. Absolutely tremendous. And fair play to him. And
I was just amazed.
Yeah.
I was just amazed at a Premier League club, a lower half Premier League club never spotted him and came in and then bought him before he went to Portugal because he was there. Could have had him cheap.
I don't understand how they don't look at the Championship and think there are good players in the Championship, yet they'll spend 40 million on some kid who plays for Lille in France in a tin pot league. Same as Portuguese league is tin pot, as far as I'm concerned. They're not great leagues, but they'll buy players from the lower part of their divisions for 30 million on. They wouldn't take a risk on a Championship striker who's scored double figures 2 seasons in a row. Bizarre.
Yeah. There's 2 good examples really. You look at the boy that Everton bought, Beto, that is hardly getting a game now, and then also Xerxes that Manchester United have bought, who just does not look up to scratch at all. He looks, devoid of pace. He's not particularly physically strong. He's hardly scored a goal so far. Those 2 players both cost more than what Vic would have cost to one of those Premiership clubs when he moved on from us. So, you do wonder sometimes some of the people making these decisions, what's going through their mind. And now they're all going to pay 60, 80 million for him when they could have got him for 15 to 20 million when he moved on from us. So, I'm sure there's a few people who are scratching their head about that, to be fair.
The guy at Man United doing recruitment was the guy who let Vic go from Brighton for £1 million.
Yeah.
And he signed Højlund for how many million? 85, 90 million where they played for him? He ain't that much better than Vic, is he? Get it?
Hey.
I want to know what your credentials have to be one of these guys who does all the spending at these clubs. It's just bizarre. They don't seem to care, do they? The top clubs with all the money. Just spend what you want.
It's a case of throwing enough crap at a wall and see what sticks.
Oh, exactly, yeah. Gary Collins. So sad to see Robins go, but some of its team selections is questionable. He keeps chopping and changing the team, but he has done a lot for us, promotions, cups, etc. He had the money of O'Hare, never replaced any of one, got rid of Casey, should have kept in. King needs to answer to us fans. I don't know who can replace Robins. We will see. Sad. We are gutted. We have to stick together as one. I saw a comment from Jack Saunders saying, as a fan base, whoever comes in, you just got to get behind the new guy.
You go.
There we go. Yeah. Evening, guys. Regardless of your Robins' position and opinion, we back the lads, we back the staff, and we back the new manager, which is we have to, don't we?
Yeah.
No, that will happen, won't it? That's a given, really. That will happen. But today, it's still very raw.
Yeah. So who would, talking to new managers, what sort of manager are we looking at to replace Robins? I mean, he's on about this coach, head coach rather than a manager. I'm not so sure, we've got to go down that road if that's the way he wants to go. But there's only certain people that can do it, isn't there?
A few weeks ago, we were kind of going, I was going, well, if he does go, there's 1,200 professional managers.
Yeah. Have you got that list there, Claudia?
Hold on a minute. I forgot to jot them down because I didn't think I'd need it. I was being a bit blasé, wasn't I? There's so many managers. There's bound to be one. I can't think of any. I'm really
well. There you go.
But the problem is because we're not expecting it, are we? If you'd have said to me 6 weeks ago, start thinking he's going in 6 weeks, I might have a list for you. But when you, on the whole, I just, I look at somebody. Okay, if you want to get out of this division, if you want to spend money, I mean, I know people say, "Oh no, not him." The likes of David Moyes, that's one name. He can get you out of the Championship. He's done it several times. I mean, I can't see what's his name, Potter, coming here. Because he's got aspirations for bigger things, but he'd be a good somebody great. But you've got to spend money, haven't you?
He seems to be waiting around a long time, Potter. He hasn't took a job and it's been.
Well, he doesn't have to, does he? He's getting paid off still. That's the thing. He probably can't. You see, he's probably waiting. And then you're looking down further down. I mean, this guy at Wickham, he's 5 minutes. He's been a manager.
Yeah,
that's no experience, is it?
That's no good. No,
and then you get Lampard being thrown around. Well, I'm throwing somewhere else because I don't want him here.
How about Lee Carsley? He's got connections.
Lee Carsley's another one that's out in.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. He did well with the England under 21s and all that. I'd sooner have Lee Carsey than the guy from Wickham.
Yeah, oh, definitely, without a doubt. Because he's got a connection to the club as well, hasn't he?
And I just feel we need some kind of stability, but somebody probably understands this kind of structure. And I imagine Lee Carsley does because of the way the England setup is. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because Mourinho wants to manage somebody, doesn't he? He was saying that he's had enough.
He's looking for a new challenge, and we've got one bloody hell of a challenge for you.
I'm not sure Doug King and Mourinho will get on.
Can you imagine that? And also, you got the issue of this setup. You can't sack all our coaches. There's too many of them. So whoever comes in is coming in as the head coach of all those coaches.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Yeah, he can't bring it. Whoever comes in, he can't bring his own men in.
No. So you could say you did get Moyes. He might go, well, I've got Freddie Smith. I normally have as my backup man. He's got to come in, and Tommy Jones and whoever else. I'm just saying names. But you know what I mean? I've got my men. I need my men round me. But that don't happen, does it?
Well, you know what, Claudio? That when you go to that thing on Monday, now that's your question.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That's your question.
Yeah, unless it's sat there already. David Moyes with Freddie Smith and Tommy Jones.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Whoever he brings in, you've got to think. A lot of the players, a lot of the coaches want their own staff because they're so used to it. Unless they're a brand new up and coming manager, as you say, someone like the Wickham manager as well. But look at Amorim coming in from Sporting, bringing his whole crew in with him. The chances are Van Nistelrooy will be turfed out.
Yeah.
So be interesting.
Who do you think? Any names?
I think it's going to be someone a bit left field, really. I think you look at Sheffield Wednesday's appointment, Danny Roll. That was a bit left field, and he's done a magnificent job at Sheffield Wednesday. And again, he had no Championship specific experience, although he was a very experienced coach working in top leagues. So I think that's where they'll go. I think they'll go possibly abroad, possibly someone who's got top level experience, but maybe not sort of head coach or managerial experience. You look at the boy at what's happening at Sunderland, you look at Danny Roll at Sheffield Wednesday, and there are other examples throughout the leagues now of foreign coaches coming in who are not well known, but have come in and done an absolutely outstanding job. And I've got a feeling that that's the route that they're going to take, and they'll have these 22 coaches there as sort of a backup for them, so that they can sort of slip into the role and transition into the role seamlessly. And this league with that support. So that would be my guess. I don't think people like David Moyes will not. He's not a yes man. No way. Possibly Lee Carsley. He does fit the mould, but he seems very happy where he is at the moment. But he would fit the role, and what Doug's looking for by the sounds of it. But some of the other guys like Lampard and some of the other people that have been mentioned, that's just not going to happen. For me. So my guess would be someone a little bit left field with top level experience coming in from abroad.
Yeah.
What about you, Wayne? Who do you fancy?
Oh, I'd love if we could get him. It's never going to happen. I'd love someone like Bielsa. I think that would be incredible. I think the style of football that he had Leeds to get them out of the Championship, to take them in the Premier League, they were phenomenal. I'd love someone within that mould. I don't want, Carsley for me doesn't excite me. I think Carsley is a yes man. I really do. I just get this feeling that he is a yes man. But for me, if I had to pick someone, it'd be Bielsa, or I've said it on here before. I said it 6 months ago. I like someone like Daniel Farke as well. I think he's a top quality manager.
Yeah, that's the thing with Farke. No one knew about him, even Bielsa. You get some people go, "Oh yeah, I knew about him." Blah blah. No, you didn't. These are people like Danny Roll. They've come out from the cold, you could say almost. to us. I mean, there's that guy who was the football manager in France, wasn't he? And he was getting fined 30 grand every time he had a game because he didn't have any coaching badges. And they were top of the league at one stage. It was hilarious. And all his coaching was done on Football Manager playing the game. And it's like, is it that easy? Yeah. But I mean, he's gone now.
Do you think then there's a lack of up and coming young English managers, basically?
Well, that's why we've got a German as the national coach. So the answer is yes. There's definitely a lack of.
So it seems to be.
Yeah, there's a dearth. Clearly, there's a dearth, and the guys that have got into management, who you'd expect that transition from playing, they've just not stepped up to the mark at all. Any of them. I can't think of one really. You look at Gerrard, you look at Lampard, you look at Rooney. None of them have had brilliant or great success so far. So, yeah, I think there is a massive dearth in that area.
There is, yeah.
The problem is as well, when you've got a manager, and you're sort of kind of happy with your manager, you're not really looking elsewhere for a manager, are you? You're not thinking, oh, we could do with him. In the old days, when we were really rubbish, I couldn't wait to get a new manager, and you kept looking at other clubs going, well, we'll have him, or that bloke will do. We're not doing that because there was no reason to, really. I'm saying it's not like we're bottom of the table with no hope. So in that respect, it's really difficult. And then whoever you get, if he's at a club, that's going to cost us money as well. So it's going to be a lot of money spent trying to get a manager now.
Yeah, and I don't think Doug's got the money. I mean, I just received a text about AD Vivash. Apparently, he hasn't been paid a penny yet.
There you go then.
There you go. And so whether there's legal action in the background there or whatever, we don't know about. You don't know.
There's 6 months gagging, isn't there? Order, I think, at the minute.
Is that's probably something to do with it.
There. That sounded a bit dodgy, isn't it? 6 months of gagging.
I'm sure that'll all come out. That'll come out in the wash, I'm sure. Yeah.
Around your Saturday night, then, Claudio.
Things that go on in Tile Hill, eh?
Yeah. And that's an open invitation to all you viewers as well.
Well, you're the back end of Tile Hill, aren't you?
Yeah, but not in Tile Hill, the back end.
I'm just over the border.
I'll go out across the border. Would you sooner be in Austria or Switzerland? It's one of those, isn't it? Or Slovenia or Italy. It's one of those.
Yeah.
So we've got some more comments. Frank Wood, I think Doug King wants to manage his business and he wants a coach to look after the playing side, and Mark Robins probably did not want that. Neil Jakes reckons Wayne is talking sense again.
Oh, Wayne.
Tom Rogers, it's not a results business, it's a money business. This ain't about City, it's about money. I'll be interested what happens on Monday, actually, because they've not really said anything what the whole thing's about. Simon Miller, we had nothing to play for after the semi-final. I agree about the games this season, but you cannot throw in the end of last season with injuries and fatigue. Well, yes and no, because people like to talk about the whole 7 years, so why can't you talk about the last year? Because that's still part of the reign, isn't it? With statistics, you just pick and choose. Because at some point, people say we've not won a game, we've only won 4 games in 20. But then if you took it over 40 games, it might have been, the stats don't look so bad, do they? But you have to pick a point. And I just think since the changes, since last February, it's all started changing from then. And then when Lawrence left, we've not looked great. It's just been weird. And
the thing is that a lot of the time they'll choose stats that will go with their narrative. A lot of people today going, oh, we've got 7 points out of the last 9. And then you look at it over the last 6 games, we've still got 2 victories, 3 losses and a draw. Or you look over the last 30, where we've picked up 27 points out of 90. So you always go with stats that kind of favour what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's true. This is from Dawn Cook. DK is going to have to pull something huge out of the bag to make it work. He's a control freak and wants to run it all. He may be a businessman, but knows nothing about football. And Tom Rogers says, so now what you're saying, we're going Prem, are we? Premier in, more like. On the way to Sunderland. Kevin Otto, your board is doing a Birmingham. I think you could be right, Kevin.
Yeah.
It certainly feels that way. Paul
Oh.
Hughes, we start with a plan, then the opponents react, and we don't do anything until the 60th minute. Used to be the 80th. Robins' game management wasn't great. Yeah, I mean, these are things that people have questioned over the last probably the last year actually. And because there's some games where he's made substitutions, he did 5 at Bristol City in the cup game, and it turned the game around. And he did something similar a few games after. Then he resorted back to type, didn't he? So I don't know. I do feel there's a lack of trust with some of the players he's got in the squad, and that's what Tavares. Why didn't he come on last night when you needed goals?
That is another one. Yeah, he should have come on.
What is going on there?
Yeah.
What's the point?
He was warming up. He was warming up.
Yeah,
Down for me.
I'll tell
He's
you
had
what.
no minutes at all, has he, this year? No minutes at all, not even a sniff.
I mean, I put on social media last night. After the first half, the only 2 shots on target was Sky, the girl who took the thing at the competition thing at half time. She hit the back of the net twice, didn't she? I thought, this is pathetic, isn't it, really? But Tavares might as well come and sit next to me in the stand. He just does not get on the pitch. It's weird.
Yeah, he could have he could have replaced Thomas Asante last night, because Thomas Asante last night was absolutely horrific. He was awful.
He should have come on.
Yeah, the first half he did 1 cross. Second half he had that 1 shot. That's all he did the whole game. And Hadji Wright didn't have his best game last night. I think we all can agree on that. But at least he was involved in the game. He was involved.
Thomas missed 2 great chances at the end, though, didn't he?
Yeah, the header was weak. Hadji Wright's header, when he had that chance, he got muscled off the board, didn't he? It's so frustrating. If only I was 6'3", God, it's just.
They just seemed to want it more than us last night, didn't they? Simple as that.
Well, that's what's worrying. It's that format, we spoke about this, where we start the game slowly, you know what's going to happen, or we come out blazing. And after 10 minutes, I thought, we're in trouble here tonight. We just don't. The ground they were covering, and Mark Robins mentioned this, the ground they were covering compared to what we were covering was embarrassing in that first half. We're at home. We need to show up at home. Cameron De Rossi, Fabregas would be a good young manager for Coventry. Well, so does he own Como? Has he got? Or is it? Somebody owns him, don't they?
He's got shares in it, hasn't he? He has got a financial interest in it, but that's not a bad shout, really. I mean, he's obviously got great experience in the game. I know he's had some managerial experience over in Italy. So, I don't think he would come here, though.
No, it'd be, I think he's having a nice life in North Italy, isn't he? David Granigan, regards to how it's been done, it's not right, and Robins was good enough to do a job. If Doug hadn't messed around with the working team, i.e. Robins, Adi and Dennis, since then it's never been the same. Gary Collins says, Gerrard and Lampard, no thanks. No is the answer. Kevin Otto, who do you want next? Wayne Rooney from Plymouth. I'm just glad he's got a job.
He's doing a sterling job, isn't he?
Yeah. Marshall Luddite. Well, they won last night, though, didn't they? We need to consider who Doug King Limited is. Is he just one person or just the head of many non-investors, just like Sisu was? I think Robins was spent, and this might be good for all parties.
Well, the trouble is, he's not going to come out and tell us, is he? I mean, we don't know much about this performance director, this lady, do we? Nobody sort of knows anything about her. I don't think I've only seen a picture of her once. I don't know where she's based.
I'd like to think she's under a performance review based on this season.
Well, I mean, surely her job should be under review.
I think with Mark Robins as well. Had it at the end of this season, last season, had gone, I've had enough, actually. I think I've done as much as I can. And it had got a massive send-off by the fan base. But I don't think there would have been financial implications probably on Mark Robins, because obviously the club then have to go out and find a manager.
Yeah.
Which means they're going to have to pay up somebody to come in. But I just think it's the way it's been done. It's just poor.
Yeah, the handling's been very bad.
Minxie lad. Doug King, anonymously silent when things have been bad recently, but can't speak enough of them. Or bathe in the limelight when things are going good. The guy's a narcissist. Robins deserve better, and this decision could backfire badly. I think we've mentioned all those things in previous weeks, actually. And can I say, what a week for Miles to be away on holiday.
Yeah, something happening while he's sunning himself in Jamaica.
Yeah. He can't believe this. He can't believe this. Yeah, I hadn't mentioned this, but I was going to say he looks like Carmen Miranda. Nice hat, Grant.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant.
Christopher Baker, sad day for City. Thank you, Robins, for everything.
What about sorry,
No,
Claudia, what about John Eustace? If we had to go and get somebody with the connection to the club, yeah, you know, I like that. He's got championship experience. He did a great job at Birmingham, and he's actually done a really good job at Blackburn. I know they're a bit in and out, but they're under massive financial restrictions at Blackburn. They've got big money problems with their owners, I think. So he's doing a sterling job there, really. He's young.
He's doing a good job with an average squad. That's what they are. You know, Blackburn are a very average squad. And, you know, you're not going to get a great performance from Blackburn every game. But with what he's got, he's doing very well.
Yeah. And I think he's come here.
Whoever comes in then, because at the minute, I'm trying to work out our style of play over the last year or so. The counter-attacking thing had gone after Gyökeres had left. So we went back to more possession-based football, supposedly, except we can't keep the ball, which is a major issue when you're meant to be playing possession football. The ones who did keep the ball would always be the back four or the back five. We make so many passes. I mean, somebody said, I think the biggest stat was the most passes made was Bobby Thomas had the highest percentage of passes, which is rubbish, isn't it, really? You want your main midfielders to be passing the ball and the forwards, not the defence, keep holding the ball. So what sort of football do you want to see at the CBS? Grant?
So if I look at last night, for example, you know, Derby set up traditionally how a lot of the clubs set up in this league. They get lots of men behind the ball. And, you know, one of the reasons I think that things changed in the second half is that we created width in the second half. And that's what you need to get behind teams when they get two banks of four players. In the first half, we were so narrow that we had absolutely no chance. And as the manager referenced in the interview afterwards, what they did is they went man for man and let Bobby Thomas have the ball. No disrespect to Bobby, but he isn't the best passer of the ball in our team by any stretch of the imagination. So it's no problem for them to let him have the ball all the time. So for me, what I want to see us play with lots of width, especially when we play at home. We've got to play with width to be able to get behind teams, because more often than not, we'll have most of the ball. I think we had over 70% of the possession last night. I saw a stat. And when you've got that much possession, you've got to get the ball wide. And it's by no coincidence that we played our best football last night in the last sort of 20 minutes when we had Mason Clark one side, Sakamoto the other, and those two were our outlets to try and make things happen. So for me, we've got to play with a lot of width at home. When we play away, I don't mind playing counter-attacking football because we have got players with pace up front that can hurt teams. So, but at home, we have to play with lots of width, get the ball out wide. And our centre forwards, especially Sims, he needs that service into the box. It's the only way he will affect the game. He's not someone who can play the ball into feet, or he can run the channels. He's not Vic. You've got to give him service from wide. And if you do, he can be effective. So for me, that's what I'd like to see.
And also on that, last night we're playing a team who've not won away from home all season. Our first shot on target was 57 minutes. That's shocking. That is shocking. At home, I said to my lads, we need to have at least 2 or 3 shots in the first 10 minutes. I don't care where they're from. Just make the crowd go, ooh, or an R or something. Get the crowd going.
Yeah, there was nothing, was there? Yeah.
No, there was a lot of anger in the crowd last night with the way we were passing. There was so much
stuff we messed up.
Yeah, but there was so many times where it was just sideways passing back to Thomas, back to the keeper back to Thomas, and there were times I remember one point where I think it was Josh Eccles had it in the centre of midfield, had so much space in front of him, but stopped. And the whole crowd was shouting, "Run bloody forward." And he ended up passing it sideways. And it was so frustrating. But it's been like that for a while. Like, our style of play it's just boring. It's really negative, really boring compared to, you think when we first came in the Championship, and I think our first fixture was Bristol City?
Forest.
I think.
The away game.
Yes, Bristol City. And I think we lost 2-1, but we played really, really well. And that was that season, the season after was where we saw it was kind of like passing, but passing with intent and attacking with a bit of prowess. And I think those first 2 seasons when we were in the Championship were our best. The way we played, I thought we played really, really well. Whereas at the minute, it's very negative. It's kind of like, let's see how many sideways passes and backwards we can get for possession stats, because we're not doing anything with it.
I mean, you say boring. It is at times. It's just cautious football, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we still let goals in. So the same defenders we had last season, and I said this at the start of the season, I was laughed at for saying this. It's because they're going there, but they don't play in the same positions. It's the same defenders as last season, making the same mistakes, letting in the same amount of goals.
Yep.
That's your problem. They're not stopping people from scoring.
Yeah. Look at how many errors we gave away last night. I mean, I think the case in point was Sheaf in the first half. A stupid 5-yard pass straight to their player. He went straight through on goal, and it was only because probably a lack of confidence, or he just wasn't that good. Didn't do anything with it.
Yeah. So, Ken, what about you? What sort of style do you want to see? A manager to come in and do what?
Well, I'd like to see, as Wayne said, we've got to play a bit, and Cran, we've got to play a bit of width. We need, especially at home. I don't away. You can change the the players and play. I don't mind if they play one up front and go counter attacking, which they do a lot. I don't mind away from home. It gets the results sometimes, depending on who you're playing. But certainly at home, you've got to be entertained. You've got to entertain the fans. Simple as that. We've got good fan base there now. It was 27,000 there last night, and a lot of them went home very disappointed. Apart from the 3,000 Derby fans, went home disappointed. Very disappointed because they didn't expect it. They didn't expect the way we played like that last night. I expected a lot more last night. And I expect at home for us to, attack and get some shots on target and play with width, play attacking football. And, most of the times we have done that with Robins, but there's been occasions, as we all know, like last night, and there's been a few other games where we've just let the fans down and they haven't done it.
Do you think Robins would have been sacked if we got a draw last night?
Well, that would have been interesting. I think this was pre-planned. I think the win against Middlesbrough and the win against Luton, as Rob Gurney said on BBC, actually, he said that was a bit of an inconvenience for Doug King, because I think 2-0 down against Luton, if we'd have lost that game, I think he would have gone then. Because I think he had this planned, pre-planned. And the fact that we got a win, 2 wins, he couldn't do it because we got 2 wins.
And if we get somebody,
he seized the opportunity last night.
Yeah.
And if we get somebody quick, it's obviously planned because there's a lot of negotiations to be done and the thought process behind it.
Yeah, he seized on the opportunity last night. We've lost. We've got an international break coming up. We've got a game against Sunderland and an international break, so he's got a bit of a time slot there, hasn't he, to get somebody?
Yeah, because wasn't it you, Claudio, who said, was it the Luton game at half time he left? Is it you? Someone said it.
Someone did say that. Yeah, he did leave. Yeah. Somebody seen him leave. Yeah.
Was it Luton game or Norwich game? It was one of the games.
One of the games.
It was definitely the Luton game.
It might be the Luton.
Yeah. Because I remember saying when we scored our 3rd goal, he would have been furious.
Yes. apparently Martin Johnson was in the box with him last night. So I don't know where he's going to figure in.
More importantly, why were you not in the box?
Don't know. I think Grant, were you in the box last night?
Yes, I was in the box last night. Yeah,
Honestly,
that's why
I'd love to go a show. I'd love to go an episode where one of you lot ain't in the bloody box.
Yeah.
I feel left out.
The food was good last night, Claudio. The food was good last night.
You stick to sitting there with that bloody hat on you.
Yeah.
I've normally got another hat on, so it's quite common for me to have a hat on. That's
you normally have a flat cap, don't you? A flat cap, normally.
Yeah, I've got some more comments here. Mark Rainbow, what are they expecting from a new head coach? He'll still have to work with the same lopsided squad. I don't necessarily trust the recruitment team to fix that problem. This is Paul Thompson. He says that Doug King song was the worst idea ever, in my opinion. The bloke's ego is big enough as it is.
Well, I think it's been rearranged now. The words have changed on it. I've heard.
I have seen a cracker earlier, but we can't read it out.
We're not allowed to do it. We get in trouble.
Excalibur GB. People can't forget Doug doesn't have the same loyalty as the fans do to Robins. Robins never done for him what he did for the club as a whole, which is what we said at the start of the season, where when he came, I think it was the start of last season, I put a post up saying that Robins under pressure. It's the first time he'd ever had money to spend. And Doug King doesn't owe him anything. Basically, he's not his man, is he? So he's, all the previous stuff doesn't matter. It's what you do for the new guy, and he obviously feels he hasn't done enough for him. Whatever you may think of that, that's he's not interested in the 5 seasons or the 6 seasons before. He's only interested since he's taken over.
Yeah,
and that's how it is.
And that's
There's no sentimental.
You've got to take the sentiment out of it. It's results based, and the results, as we know, have not been good enough.
Yeah,
and especially at home.
Yeah, and home is key, without a doubt, because that's where you got your big crowd. And people leaving last night, and it's miserable. People moaning. I don't care. They may not be doing it on socials, but everybody was moaning coming out. Or they're silent, or they're moaning, going, "This is a waste of time. Why do I bother?" Sort of thing, And it's true because like I said, there's only 1,000 to 3,000 people go to away matches. It's what happens at home which is key to the future of the club.
I think for me, if AD and Dennis were still there, and the structure was the same, okay, I think the fans would feel differently now, because they would think, well, no one's meddled with Mark. He's had plenty of time. He's got his coaching staff, his structure that he's always had in place. I think the big thing is 2 things for me. Number one, it's clear that that's been meddled with. There's no denying that Mark wanted those changes that occurred. He didn't. There's no chance for me. And second of all, it's just the way it's been done. Those are the 2 things. What you can't deny, as Wayne said, the results, and not just the results, the performances have been poor for a good while. You can't deny that, and you have to take your sentiment away from that. But he's had his coaching staff meddled with. That's very clear. The structure's changed, and that's had a profound impact for many of the fans. And it's one of the things that they'll continually mention when defending Mark, and that's undeniable for me.
Yeah.
Well,
We
can go. Still got a load of comments to come through. Have you, Claudio?
Yeah. Excalibur GB. Doug made the right decision to do it now. If it was something was planning on doing, time for a new manager before January. We're trying to keep a balanced view by reading, because obviously there's some for and against, without a shadow of a doubt. So it's only fair to get everybody's views in. Gavin Spicer, Mark Robins, legend, best manager in Coventry City history. King, what have you done, you clown? Disastrous decision. We'll never know. We won't know, will we? Till the end of the season. Dave Brannigan, and in my opinion, it doesn't matter whoever is the next manager, it won't work, as there's still same owner and crap backroom staff.
That backroom staff bit, I think what we talked about earlier, that's crucial. And it's just literally been playing on my mind for the last half-as. I think what you said, Claudio, with whoever the manager is, will they be allowed to bring in their own team, or do they have to have the 3,000 coaches that we have? I think that's a really, really interesting question that he needs to answer.
Well, it is, isn't it? Because I mean, this announcement, it's just a bit cold, isn't it? The way they've done it. I just feel they needed to have come out and done a proper. I mean, he's the owner. I mean, he might be on the radio in the morning. It's not the first time it's happened.
They've been trying to get hold of him. He's declined to comment today, he says.
Well, he said they're going to keep it for Monday, so it's a bit, it's a bit safe when he knows it's a safe environment to do it in, I think.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of people want answers to certain questions, don't they?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And it'd be interesting to see what Mark says as well, whether he does say anything. I mean, he'll probably have an NDA in place, no doubt, which will make it challenging for probably him to be able to speak his mind. But no doubt we will hear from him at some point.
The thing is, though, they even if there wasn't an NDA in place, he wouldn't come out really and slag the club off to a degree. He'll just go, the fans have been brilliant. The club have been fantastic. We've tried to do what we can and we move on. Nothing lasts forever. That it's rare that they ever come out and say, well, the owner was an absolute, and I got completely hamstrung and everything was taken away from me. I don't think only the closest people to him will really know what is going on. I think we'll just get served up the same old rubbish that you do.
Well, you go back in the day. I mean, everybody thought Strachan and Ferguson got on like a house on fire. That total opposite.
Yeah.
Ferguson hated Strachan. He took him from all over the place, didn't he, with him? So it's weird. This is Finn says, disgusted with the decision. DK was a problem and will continue to be. With Robins, top priority was top 6. Now it's stay up. DK, what have you done? And Marshall Luddite, keeping it balanced. He's replying to Day Sports Photos. Disagree. This guy's been good. Need to stop people slashing their wrists, as so many people want to.
I tell you what will be interesting is in 3-4 months' time, will people be coming on here going, Doug King masterclass if we end up in the playoffs?
well, you see, I said that earlier. We were talking privately.
I don't think you'll see them again.
I said if we, if it turns, we bring somebody in and we end up in the top 6, because football's a funny game. We know it is. I wouldn't say Mark Ross will be forgotten, but they'll certainly. It won't be so bad, will it? You know what I mean? The feeling. Yeah. But if we end up in the bottom 6 or, worse than that, then there will be a backlash.
Yes.
So
it could go terribly wrong, this. It really could. And it could have a massive impact on next season. On
the club going forward.
Yeah. It could be huge. But it also, he's rolled the dice. And I also take my hat off to him for a brave decision. Because only a brave person would have done that today.
Because if it doesn't work, how many people won't renew their season tickets next year?
Quite a few.
Quite
a few.
Yeah. I mean, Doug King is a gambler. That's his. That's what he does for a living. He gambles.
Yeah, it's a big year this year as well, because I think I'm right in saying that by the end of this season, it's an EFL requirement that you have to have a 10-year rolling lease agreement on any stadium you don't own.
Yeah, that's right. I brought up last show.
Yeah, last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. So if it's a huge season. If we, God forbid, we make the wrong decision now and bring somebody in, and we do get relegated, that's going to have a profound impact on us as a football club, because there's no doubt Mr. Ashley, he's going to want his pretty penny for any 10-year agreement. He's going to want a good deal for the stadium. So, it's a massive 6 to 12 months for us for lots of reasons. And, that deal's got to be done. And we're going to be held over a barrel a little bit, because we have to have it in place. So, I do worry about that a little bit. And this next appointment, has got to get us back on track quick. and moving forward, and at the very least staying in this league, which I'm sure we will. We've got the players to do that. But it is a really important appointment.
That's important.
It's a good point from Dale. Couldn't beat a terrible Derby side at home, yet apparently we're going to pick up anything at Sunderland. Sorry, lads, after Wednesday night and today you're talking nonsense. Well, we managed to get a win at Middlesbrough. You wouldn't think you'd win at Middlesbrough performance last night. So
it all depends on what team turns up, doesn't it? That's the question. What team's going to turn up?
You should actually screenshot that, and if we do get something, we should highlight that for Sunday's show.
So I got a comment here from Gordon Dando. He didn't know his best goalkeeper. He didn't know his best defence, kept chopping and changing the forward line. He was a good manager than Dennis Lawrence and Adi Vivash as his coaches, but he is not a coach. He'd gone like many managers before him. We move on. CCFC is what is important, and we need to support them ever more. Well, that's a valid point as well.
Very valid, yeah.
I mean, this is interesting from Mark Rainbow. Has a manager ever been sacked with such complete condemnation before? It wasn't like this when Eric Black got sacked, or was it? I didn't have socials then, did we?
No, it was a little bit. I mean, they were disappointed really that they brought Peter Reid in. I think that was the big disappointment.
Dave Saunders, everyone get a grip. We are Coventry City, a football club. This happens in this business. Thank you, Mark, for 7 years, onwards and upwards.
Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah. Is that about
it? He just doesn't see the ownership has applied that philosophy here. I think that's right, that last comment. Onwards and upwards. Thanks for 7 years, Mark. We're not getting that from the ownership. Thank you, Mark. They've put a statement out saying all the right things, but for what he's done for this football club, whether Doug King was here or not, he wouldn't have a football club if it wasn't for Mark Robins and the job that he's done. Not in its current form anyway. So that for me is the thing that sits with me, is the way it's been done.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to wrap up soon. Let's go then. Mark Robins memories. Claudio, 7.5 years. What stands out for you over Mark Robins memories?
League Two for me.
League Two.
Yeah, League Two season. I think it was so critical. Mansfield away, man got sent off. We ended up getting a 1-1 draw. I thought we'd never get out of League Two, and it meant everything just to get out of League Two at the first attempt. It had to be done. Notts County away, that was incredible night at Notts County.
That's what they would be. Yeah.
And the game, the atmosphere, the goals in the game as well were great. League Two, I think, definitely, because it was so important, so important.
Yeah, Grant, what's your memory of Mark Robins? 7.5 years.
The Wembley trips, it's at our level for many fans. It's an absolute pleasure and a great thing when you get to Wembley. And I have two lads, to be able to take them to Wembley to watch our team play. And Mark's had a profound impact on that we've been able to get to Wembley so many times in the period that he's been with us. There's not many of the clubs can say that. So those trips to Wembley, Notts County away was a brilliant night as well. That sticks in the memory, of course, for most fans. But the Wembley trips, thanks to Mark, that we made those trips, and they'll be forever in my memory for sure.
Yeah, Wayne, I'm sure you've got a few as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, I echo what Claudio says. League Two was. It was so important that we bounced back straight away. And I remember being abroad when the Notts County game was on. I was in Mallorca, and I was in a bar with the wife, and running around when we kept scoring. Everyone thinking, who's this weirdo? So that was always good. But I also think clinching the League One title was a big thing for us. And
of course, that was difficult because during COVID as well, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was a COVID season. It was difficult times. I think the challenges that represented, but also it's probably easy for the players as well when they weren't playing in front of crowds, because our football was so free flowing.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. You know, you misplace a pass, there isn't 20,000 people going, "Oh, God's sake!" You know, you just got on with it. And I thought our football then was phenomenal. And I think that's the football that we then brought into the Championship for the first 2 seasons. So yeah, I think League Two and the title for me.
Yeah, for me, I probably agree with most of what you said there. Notts County for me sticks in my mind. That night at Meadow Lane was fantastic. When we blew them out of the water, really, when we drew the first leg, we thought it's going to be difficult going there and getting a win, but no problem at all on the night. We just
did
blew
have a
them
bit
away.
of luck that night, though, didn't we? Where they had that goal disallowed, which should have been a goal.
Yeah, we had a little bit of luck, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that because they just got a goal back, and then I think it would have made it 2-2, and luckily that went our way.
Max Biarmi scored that fantastic sort of overhead kick, didn't he? And it was, and then Tom Bayliss ran through and scored, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant in the end, because they all thought they'd. I think they got their T-shirts printed, didn't they? If I remember, they thought they were already through, and that's what we blew them out of the water. Obviously trips to Wembley as well. They were fantastic. You know, even though I was lucky, I went to Wembley in '87 as well, way back then, as Claudio did, I'm sure. So we remember Wembley,
50s,
but for the youngsters, it was good as well for Wembley trips, and they expect it every season now. But it's not that easy, trust me. But the cup run last year was the win at Wolves was outstanding performance that was. And obviously the drama of the semi-final against Man United will always sticking there.
7 years now.
Say again?
He's just picking the old 7 years, isn't he?
Yeah, you've just talked. We're supposed to be like one moment here, and you've literally just reeled off 40.
There's so many to choose. It's not as if there's one. There's quite a lot, you know. But no, if I had to pick one, I think the Notts County night. That's probably above everything. That was a great night, and thanks very much for the memories, Mark. That's all I can say, and wish you all the best, whatever you do. I'm sure there'll be no shortage of job offers for him. I think, you know, depending on what sort of deal he's done with the club, hopefully they'll allow him to go and manage straight away. There'll be plenty of clubs out there, certainly coming up to Christmas time, when they start sacking their managers. You never know, we might even see him in the opposite dugout at the CBS before the end of the season. That's a possibility, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know?
I don't think we will see him for a bit. I actually think he will have a break, and we will maybe see him maybe the back end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if he just goes and has a bit of a
break
charge. Yeah.
He might even come back with AD Vivash at his side. You never know. That'd be strange, wouldn't it? See them both back together. Right. Any more comments before we go, Claudio, or is that about it?
Any more comments?
There's a couple more you can give.
There's James Hollyoak says he ain't dead, he's got sacked. We know that. He's not dead. James always had enough of him.
Well, it's nice to say thank you, isn't it?
Day Sports Photos. Claudia, that's very perceptive. The Mansfield away game, we had lost that, we'd have been 10 points behind Mansfield and wouldn't have made the playoffs. See?
Yeah.
That night could have been, that day could have been game over for Mark Robins had we lost that match. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, there's loads more comments. We'd be here all night if I just went through the lot. There's too many. All I'll say is we're here Sunday night. No doubt this will continue anyway, because we might have somebody in place. We might not have somebody in place. We could have been battered with Sunderland. We might have beaten Sunderland, and we're all going, see, what's the problem? The problem is Mark Robins, you know, or whatever. But we'll be here Sunday night, won't we, Ken? Yeah,
we'll be back Sunday night, and hopefully, well, let's hope. You know, it'd be great if we can get something from Sunderland. It'd be great, but you know, I fear the worst. But let's hope I'm wrong, and we do get something up at Sunderland. It's always a difficult place to go to, but so we didn't have much time to talk about the Derby game. But obviously, there's much more important news with the Doug King decision today.
What Derby game? I don't remember.
there's not much. We didn't miss much, to be fair.
No.
But, apart from we got beat, that's we all know that. So, but we'll be back anyway on Sunday, live 7:30. It was hopefully a bit more to talk about and a bit more happier mood, hopefully. And you never know, Big Doug might make an appointment over the weekend and shock us again.
Yeah, thank you, Grant. Thank you, Wayne. And regarding
Pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Regarding the derby match, Sakamoto is not on number 10. See you all Sunday.
Good night. Well, Sky Blues.
Sky Blue Fans TV, for the fans, by the fans.